Welcome everyone to today's session of How to Manage Your Finances, Finding Financial Calm in the Storm, led by Rick Fingerman. This program is hosted by our Blum Resource Center. Over at the Blum, we are grateful to Rick for this continued partnership. The recording of this session will be posted on our Blum YouTube playlist and our Blum Digital Resource Center. For those of you watching live, if you have any questions related to today's program, please feel free to utilize the chat feature throughout the session. At the end of the session, your questions in the chat will be used to moderate a question and answer. If you have any other questions or would like more information about resources and programs offered through the Blum, please visit our website at www.dana-farber.org/resource center or email us at blum_center@dfci.harvard.edu. Thank you all for joining us. I will now pass the workshop over to you, Rick.
Thanks, Sierra. Welcome, everyone, to another in a series of How to Manage Finances During Cancer Treatment. I'm Rick Fingerman. I think there's a slide coming up that talks a little bit about who I am and what my role here is. So the topic of this one is finding financial calm in the storm. So there's a lot of uncertainty in life, but if we can get kind of a little bit of control over what we can control with our finances, the outcome is usually better. So it's a good thing to look at. And to let you know, you can ask questions today. My email and my cell are at the last slide, so feel free to reach out to me if you've got a specific question you want to talk to me about offline. Also, if you're not part of the pro bono financial coaching program, we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. That could be a great resource as well. So this is just a younger version of me back in 2011. Wow. Couple years ago, anything that I'm the guy with the little trophy in my hand, anything that we have won through our organization, the Financial Planning Association of New England, we've donated to the Patient Assistance Fund. You might be aware of that fund. It's a small stipend that Dana-Farber gives to people in need financially. Could help out with things like groceries or heating oil or just paying a bill or whatever it might be, or parking. So if you're not familiar with the Patient Assistance Fund, reach out to your social worker and they can give you some more information on that. I am the liaison to this program, which goes back from 2008, I think we started. We're up to 718 patients as of today that we've helped in this program. So we help with anything from budgeting to estate planning. If someone needs estate planning documents, all this is pro bono, no cost to the patient. We can help with, credit card debt, all kinds of stuff. So again, if you're struggling financially or just have some questions, definitely feel free to reach out to me again in my last slide with my contact info, or if you're working with a social worker or resource specialist at Dana-Farber, reach out to them and just mention the pro bono coaching program and they can steer you in the right direction. Just a quick disclaimer, this presentation is strictly informational only, educational, not meant to be specific legal or tax or investment advice, nothing like that. But if you have specific questions, again, feel free to reach out to me because everybody's situation is a little bit different. So the first thing we want to do is just kind of acknowledge the reality. Cancer does affect more than your health because it can affect your income, your savings, ability to work, stress for sure, and your family's financial security. You're not alone. There's all kinds of resources available, which we'll talk about today. And also your resource specialist or your social worker has some of this information as well. So there's help there. So the first thing we want to do is make sure we stabilize cash flow. And cash flow simply is what's coming in and what's going out. And in a perfect world, we want more money coming in than going out. And many people, even if they're not, in treatment, have more going out than coming in, and that's just not a good situation. So there are four things that we can kind of focus on. One is to reduce expenses. Some expenses we can't reduce. We can't really reduce your rent or your mortgage payment, but we could, reduce things like going out to eat or maybe subscriptions to certain things. So it's a good idea to have a handle on really what's going out the door and what's coming in, especially if one is out of work because they're in treatment. I was just speaking with a new patient last week. She's self-employed, so if she's not working, there's no income. She doesn't have anybody. There's not a paycheck coming from a company or from an employee. So that's really tough. But if you're working for a company and your paycheck stops, that's really hard too. So if we can reduce expenses or somehow increase available income, that might be through work, might be through disability insurance, could be through a bunch of different things, which we'll touch on. That's what we want to look at. And we don't want to wait till things are really bad. We also want to try to protect any savings that we have if we're really, on track with a good emergency fund, and that's designed to take care of things when we can't work. That's great, but we don't want to whittle that down willy-nilly. We want to really make sure that any money we're taking out of savings is the right way. And we want to take money from the right types of accounts. I think I speak a little bit later on retirement plans. There's penalties and taxes and all kinds of other issues when we take money from retirement plans. So that should be kind of like a last resort. But we want to think right now, monthly survival, not long-term investing. So there's some things that we can do to do that. So again, reducing the expenses. Some companies will give you some kind of hardship relief if you ask. Ideally, if you think that you're going to run into a situation where you can't pay your mortgage or your rent, it really does make sense to reach out to those lenders or the landlord or landlady to let them know what's going on, because at least then they can kind of plan for it. And they might be able to provide some type of hardship program to help kind of smooth out that expense. If you've got credit cards, which most people do, and the balances are racking up because a lot of people use credit cards when they don't have cash available, we have some help there where we might be able to reduce those payments, or consolidate some of that stuff. So again, all this is at no cost to you if you're part of the pro bono financial coaching program. Utility companies, there's some help there if you can't pay for, heat, for an example. But again, there are things available, but you want to let them know so they don't end up turning things off. And medical providers, you're getting a lot of medical bills if you're in treatment, and there's some things that you can do there to try to smooth that out as well. So again, payment deferrals, reduced payments, especially like medical bills, things like that. Might be zero interest plans that you can go on, or hardship programs. A lot of people that have credit card debt will try to transfer that money to a zero interest credit card. So that might be a strategy, but again, you want to be really careful with that because there are costs involved, and it could actually put you in a worse place down the road if you're not careful. So again, there's help available, but you just have to know where to go, and you're in the right place because we can get that help to you. So this is, Massachusetts focus. We do have patients that are all over the country. I spoke to someone in Vermont last week. We've got people in New Hampshire, all kinds of New York. So this is specific to Massachusetts, but many states do have programs like this as well. So Mass Health, these are phone numbers, and this presentation will live somewhere that Sierra mentioned so you can access it. There'll also be some websites and another slide that you can look at and go there and kind of poke around online. But Mass Health basically provides health insurance. So if you're out of work, or your income has dropped dramatically, you could be eligible for some free health insurance. And that's really an important thing, especially when you're in treatment. The health safety net, also helps pay with, some hospital and some other health related bills. Prescription Advantage helps pay for some prescription costs if you've got that issue going on. So again, these are resources that are available, and Massachusetts has a lot of these. So you just have to know where to go, who to call, and it takes a little bit of work, but again, we can help you figure all this out. Next slide. I think there might be some more stuff. Let's see. Yeah, heating, utilities, energy. So there's something called HEAP, which is just a program for heating bills, electric fuel costs, and there can be some help there. There's the phone number to call if you're having problems with that. We've had a pretty cold winter, and I don't think we're done yet, so there might be still time to get some help. And they won't shut your utilities off, if you're seriously ill. So don't worry about that. Next slide. And then help with food. So SNAP program, you might have heard of that. It used to be called food stamps, but it's a way to get groceries. Project Bread's another great resource for any type of food. And then you can search local food banks. There's ones all over the place. There's one opening up. I'm in Newton here in my office, but there's one across the street that's opening up, I think, in the spring. And these programs, they're all these things are designed to be temporary. People go through awful things in life, and that's what they're there for, to get you through that, get to the other side, and don't be shy about asking for help. And then the RAF program. So this, one of the areas that's really tricky is housing. When someone loses their housing, there's just not a lot of stuff available. Dana-Farber does put people up. There's some deals they've got with some people in treatment, but this RAF program can help with rent or mortgage payments, utility bills as well. So again, look at all these different resources, see what's out there. Next slide. And then income replacement options. So, if you're working and you've paid into the Social Security system, you can be eligible for disability benefits. And it's not, you might have heard, it's not easy to get on disability, and that's true. It does take time. A lot of people are denied the first time they apply. We have somebody that worked for the Social Security Administration for like 40 years. This guy's unbelievable, great friend to Dana-Farber. He has spoken to our patients. He helps them out one-on-one. The guy's fantastic. So if you have a specific situation that seems like it hasn't been working, reach out to me. I can connect you with this guy. But there's also employer disability insurance. So if you worked at a job, you might have short or long-term disability insurance through them. And that might be a faster place to start because the approval will be a lot quicker than going through Social Security. And you might have a private disability policy. These aren't that popular because you have to pay for them out of your pocket. So most people don't have these because it's an expense. But again, look definitely into Social Security disability if you're unable to work, and it seems like that's going to continue for a period of time. Next slide. Okay, so here's about your savings. So again, if you've got money in the bank, in a checking account, savings account, money market, those are the places that are ideal to take money from to help make up that gap if your income has dropped. But if we take money from retirement accounts, it can trigger taxes. Not can, it will trigger taxes. There'll be penalties if one is under 59 and a half. There's a 10% penalty for money that you take out of a retirement plan. And it also reduces the money that you have in that plan. So later on when you retire, there's less money. If you have a 401k and you're still working, there are loan provisions usually where you can borrow money. That might be a better way than just taking just a straight distribution, because then that money gets paid back through your check while you're working. But again, you want to really look at this and talk to a professional before you take any money out, because once you take it out, you're kind of stuck. You can't really put it back that easily. But again, retirement funds should be that last resort. It's generally not a good place to take it from. Some people might have a life insurance policy that that they have, and sometimes it's a cash value policy that you can borrow against. There's also people that have term policies, which is kind of like car insurance. As long as you pay that premium, you have that insurance. Once you stop paying it, it goes away. It just kind of is gone. So you want to make sure you keep paying those life insurance premiums if you have life insurance. But there's also a way to sell a life insurance policy. It's called a viatical settlement. And we can help facilitate that if it looks like I really need money. I have this life insurance policy. I don't really need it anymore. I don't have anybody that's going to really benefit from it. If I passed away, there's ways potentially to pull cash from that. Next slide. And you don't have to do it alone. Again, there's all kinds of people to help. Dana-Farber is a fantastic organization. This program we have here, we've got all these certified financial planners that are trained in this program, standing by to help you, so you don't have to do it alone. Social workers, the resource specialists, nonprofit stuff. We can connect you with a couple of nonprofits that actually can help maybe pay your rent for a month or two, all kinds of stuff. So there's help out there. Just have to ask. And again, these financial planners for the pro bono financial coaching program. It's a mouthful, but we can definitely help you or at least guide you in the right direction. I think that might be it. Let's see, what else we got? Yeah, and then here's just some more resources. These are kind of just the websites, and you can Google these as well, but sometimes people like to go online versus being on a phone call. And you can just, log on, see what's near you, how it works, how to apply, and get some help. And this will all be available after the presentation. Next slide. That's it. So we're here to help. I think the last slide has my contact info here. If you want to leave that up, you can jot down my email on my phone. Just as a fair warning, if you call my phone, that's my cell, but the phone now goes automatically to a voicemail if it's not a contact in my phone. But definitely leave a message and I'll call you back. So that's, I think, it in a nutshell. It's like a record time. So I think we got some questions here. I don't see them myself, but
Yes, thank you so much, Rick, for that wonderful presentation. To answer some of the questions that were in the chat, somebody asked how they can get the link after the recording. You can, in a few weeks, once it is published, it'll be ready in our digital resource center, and you can access that by visiting www.dana-farber.org/resource center. Or you can always send me an email at blum_center@dfci.harvard.edu, and I'd be happy to make sure you get the link. One of the questions was about being able to get a disability waiver through a rider benefit for a life insurance policy. So that the users don't have to pay the premium, but they can still keep the insurance.
I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know if that's a question or it sounds more like a comment, which is
Yeah.
great because if you do have a life insurance policy, there's something called a waiver of premium, which means that if you do become disabled, they don't give you any money, but you don't have to pay the premium and it keeps the life insurance in force. So that's definitely something. I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of forgot about that idea. So definitely, if you have life insurance and it looks like you can't work and you're disabled, to let the life insurance company know, because number one, it helps your cash flows, less money going out to pay them, and it keeps that policy in force. So there's a death benefit. It's great. And again, there's that viatical settlement idea. It's not right for everyone, but we've had situations in the past where we've used it with patients where, you know, it got them a chunk of money, like 100 grand that they could use, to live on, or to help out family members or whatever it might be. So that's also not a last resort, but definitely something to consider. But any accounts that you have, whether it's retirement or non-retirement, should be looked at pretty carefully to see where's the best place to take money from, because there are usually tax implications for taking money out of even a non-retirement account. Could be capital gains tax or something like that. And depending on if someone else in the household is working, it could affect all kinds of stuff. Not only your tax rate, but if somebody is on Medicare, it could affect Medicare premiums for Part B and Part D premiums. So you really want to be careful before you start taking money out of anything. And be mindful of the whole credit card thing, because it's an easy thing to do is just pull out that credit card every time you need food or parking, whatever. It's like that's what we all do. We just pull that credit card out. But if the bill comes at the end of the month and we can't pay it and it's 30% interest, it racks up pretty quickly. So if you have any credit card issues, that's could be definitely a key, component of reaching out to that pro bono coaching program. Because we have some relationships with some credit counselors that might be able to help in that area. And if somebody's really in tough shape financially and bankruptcy looks like an option, well, we have a couple of bankruptcy attorneys that's all they do. And again, no cost to you for their help. There could be a court cost, like for filing fees and things like that, but the attorneys, there's no cost for them to help you determine if bankruptcy is an option and what that looks like down the road.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Any other? Yeah, no more questions coming in?
I don't think so. We can give it one more minute
Okay.
to see if anyone has any other questions. But as always, we so appreciate your expertise. Thank you
Oh, yeah. This was a
for
quick one.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And someone commented and said, thank you. They did not know this service was available to patients. So thank you.
Oh, a lot of
Um,
people don't. I mean, I know Dana-Farber does a great job getting this out, but when somebody's at Dana-Farber in treatment, I think the furthest thing in their mind is looking at a pamphlet or a flyer or it's just you're just trying to get through what you need to do. So there's help out there, and I think I know the coaches that we have that we've trained, and we're doing another training, I think in early May, to get some new excited coaches on board. Um, and we went to a new system recently to make it more streamlined to get the help faster. The goal is if somebody raises their hand and I get that request on Monday, I try to get that person matched the same day. So you hear from somebody like, in a day or two. But a lot of times things have slipped through the cracks. So we're trying to fix those problems. But um,
That's amazing.
we're here to help.
Love it. Well, thank you to all of our attendees who joined today. And as always, thank you so much, Rick, for being here and
Happy to be here.
with us.
My
All right.
pleasure.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks.